Smoke choked the air, thick and bitter, as the wreckage of Kale Moro's starship groaned under the weight of the dying world. Sparks showered around him, striking the scorched ground like tiny shooting stars. His chest burned, ribs pressed painfully against twisted metal, and blood stung his eyes. "Not like this," he gasped, struggling to move. Every second counted. If the unstable ruins collapsed further, he wouldn't survive. Above him, the sky was a bruised orange, clouds swirling with static energy that made the hairs on his neck rise. A tremor shook the ground, louder than a cannon, and Kale's vision blurred as the floor beneath him cracked. Dust filled his lungs, each breath a fight. Yet his mind was sharp, calculating. He couldn't give up. He reached out, fingers scraping against a shard of metal, leveraging his weight to roll free. The wreckage hissed and snapped behind him, threatening to bury him alive. Then he saw it, a faint glow, pale and unnatural, coming from beneath a broken bulkhead. At first he thought it was another spark from the failing systems, but it moved. Tiny claws scuttled over debris, a delicate body shimmering white in the fiery haze. Kale froze. The creature was unlike anything he had seen. A dragon hatchling, its scales pale as bone, eyes a liquid silver. It chirped softly, almost pleadingly, and trembled as if it too had felt the world's collapse. Kale's pain and exhaustion melted into sharp focus. "Hey, it's okay," he whispered, voice rough, hoarse from smoke. He crawled toward the hatchling, careful not to crush it under his weight. His hand hovered over its tiny body and it flinched. Then, impossibly, it leaned into his touch. Relief hit him, sudden and sharp, giving him strength to rise. In that small moment, amidst death and fire, Kale felt a spark of hope. A new tremor ripped through the ground, sharper than the last, and the hatchling screeched. Kale's head whipped up. Through the smoke, the surface cracked violently, revealing a deep chasm glowing with faint alien light. Strange symbols flickered along the edges, etched into the rock like writing from a language he couldn't read. The hatchling's body stiffened, wings fluttering against him, urging him forward. Kale's heart raced. Whatever this world had been hiding, the creature seemed to know it. Without hesitation, Kale grasped the hatchling, swinging it over his shoulder. His legs pumped, dodging falling debris, leaping over cracks that split the ground like open jaws. A wave of heat and light erupted from one side, and he rolled just in time to avoid a burning beam crashing down. His mind worked furiously, every movement had to count. Survival was no longer just about him. The hatchling depended on him, and instinctively he accepted that responsibility. Finally he reached the edge of the glowing chasm. Dust swirled around him, carrying the acrid smell of burned metal and ozone. The hatchling hissed, wings spreading slightly, glowing brighter in response to the symbols etched below. Kale squinted down. The chasm wasn't empty. In the depths, shadows moved, large and sinuous, weaving between jagged formations. Something alive, something massive, was there. The hatchling whimpered softly and nuzzled against Kale's neck. It clearly recognized danger, but the pull toward whatever was below was stronger than fear. Kale felt a shiver run down his spine. His instincts screamed to retreat, but he also knew that hesitation could mean losing both himself and the hatchling. He scanned the rubble, spotting a partially intact catwalk from the starship that angled down toward the chasm. It was risky, unstable, and likely to collapse, but it was their only path. His jaw tightened. "We move. Now." Step by step, Kale inched toward the catwalk, the hatchling clinging to him, its tiny claws digging into his armor. The chasm's glow reflected in his eyes, strange and mesmerizing, and he realized the world itself seemed alive, breathing, watching. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but something inside urged him forward, curiosity and courage colliding. This was no ordinary disaster. Something in this dying world wanted to be found. A sudden crack split the air, louder than thunder. Kale froze mid-step, heart hammering. From the glowing depths, a shadow shot upward, thin, fast, and impossibly silent. The hatchling shrieked, its glow intensifying, blinding against the smoke. Kale barely caught a glimpse. A creature moving below, alien and huge, with jagged limbs and eyes like molten metal. It paused for a heartbeat, seeming to study them, and then vanished back into the shadows. Kale swallowed hard, chest tight, adrenaline scorching his veins. The hatchling shivered against him, but it didn't retreat. Instead, it looked down at the chasm and then back at him as if urging him to follow. The ground beneath the catwalk groaned ominously, ready to give way at any moment. Kale's hand clenched on the railing. He could either flee and leave the mystery untouched, or step forward into danger with this fragile creature at his side. A spark of determination ignited. We survive. Together, he said, voice low but steady. With a deep breath, Kale took the first step onto the trembling catwalk, the hatchling pressed close, glowing brighter with each move. Below, the shadows shifted again, and a whisper of movement hinted at unseen watchers. Whatever secrets this world held, they would not escape him, or his dragon. The air crackled. The catwalk groaned. And then, a loud, unnatural rumble echoed from deep within the chasm, shaking the ruins. Dust and debris fell around them. Kale's heart leaped. This was no ordinary planet. Something ancient and alive lurked below, and the hatchling, his strange, glowing companion, was guiding him straight into its heart. Kale's boots hit the trembling catwalk with a screech, each step echoing across the hollow ruins. The hatchling clung to his shoulder, wings flicking nervously, its faint glow pulsing faster. Below them, the chasm yawned wide, glowing symbols twisting like living fire along jagged rocks. Every instinct screamed danger, yet Kale pushed forward. Hesitation would kill them both. A shudder ran through the catwalk, metal bending under their weight. Kale's hand lashed out to steady himself on a railing, teeth gritted against the pain shooting through his ribs. Sparks erupted from exposed wires, raining down in tiny showers. He glanced down. One wrong step, one miscalculation, and the glowing abyss would swallow them whole. The hatchling let out a sharp, urgent chirp, urging him faster. Its instincts, it seemed, were attuned to this world's hidden dangers in ways Kale couldn't yet understand. Suddenly, the faint glow below flared violently, as if the planet itself was exhaling. Shadows moved in the chasm's depths, larger this time, more defined. Tentacle-like limbs, jagged and coiling, shot upward, scraping rock and metal with a sound that made Kale's stomach twist. The hatchling hissed, flaring its tiny wings. Kale froze. The creature's fear mirrored his own, but it also held a strange confidence, like it knew these shadows better than he did. "We move," Kale muttered, voice tight. "No stopping now." He took another careful step, then another. The catwalk vibrated violently, threatening to give way under the weight of the crumbling ruins. The alien symbols along the chasm's edges pulsed, flickering as though reacting to their presence. Kale's mind raced. Something down there wanted attention, and the hatchling was guiding him. A loud crack split the air. The catwalk buckled. Kale grabbed the hatchling with one arm and lunged for a stable section ahead. Sparks and debris rained down, and for a heartbeat, gravity seemed to betray him. Then his boot caught solid metal and he pulled himself forward, panting. He glanced at the hatchling. It chirped, almost approvingly, and pressed close. A small relief hit him, a reminder that even in the chaos they survived together. Ahead, the path opened into a larger platform of alien machinery, partially buried beneath the planet's molten soil. Kale approached cautiously, the hatchling's glow illuminating strange, angular devices he could barely comprehend. Some hummed softly, vibrating in time with the glowing glyphs. He crouched, studying them, aware that touching the wrong mechanism could trigger disaster. His hands shook slightly, but determination steadied them. He had to understand this place. Somehow, he had to turn this alien chaos into survival. Before he could react, the shadows surged again. A massive shape lunged from the chasm, moving faster than Kale's eye could follow. It slammed into the platform, metal groaning under the impact. The hatchling screeched, wings beating furiously as it arched its body, radiating a sudden surge of blinding white light. The creature collided with the alien predator midair, and Kale watched in stunned disbelief as energy rippled outward, throwing the shadow back into the depths. Kale blinked. The hatchling had just saved them, not by brute strength but with something alien, something powerful. The realization hit him hard. This tiny creature, fragile as it seemed, was no ordinary hatchling. Its connection to the world, or whatever lay beneath, was deep and perhaps even essential to survival. He swallowed hard. "I don't know what you are," he muttered, "but we're in this together." The shadow didn't retreat fully. Its glowing eyes blinked from the chasm's depths, watching, waiting. Kale could feel it. The predator was intelligent, aware, and patient. It wouldn't strike again immediately, but it would return. He had to be ready. The hatchling chirped softly, nudging him forward. The alien platform, he realized, might be their only chance to learn more about this dying world, and perhaps control the forces threatening them. Kale began examining the alien mechanisms. Panels flickered under his touch, lights pulsing in response. Symbols shifted, forming shapes he could not recognize, but he could feel patterns, energy flows, sequences, reactions. His fingers worked quickly, tracing glyphs, pushing buttons, adjusting levers. Sparks flew from unstable circuits, and every mistake could collapse the structure, but Kale's focus never wavered. He had lost everything, his ship, his comrades, his rank, but his mind was sharp. Survival demanded intellect, not brute force. A sudden vibration ran through the platform, stronger than before. Kale's eyes darted to the hatchling. It glowed brighter, wings flaring like a beacon. The alien machinery thrummed, responding to the creature. Kale's heart raced. Whatever this world was, it was alive. It had rules. And the hatchling, somehow, knew them. Then came the micro cliffhanger. A deep, resonant sound rolled up from the chasm, unlike any rumble he had felt before. The ground trembled violently and cracks spread across the platform. From the depths, a new shape emerged, larger than the last, darker, with limbs jagged and unnatural, radiating an energy that made the air feel heavy. The hatchling's glow intensified and it screeched, circling Kale's head in alarm. Kale steadied himself, gripping a control panel for balance. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was bigger than survival. This was a test, a challenge this dying world had placed before him. He had a choice: run, hide, and leave the mystery untouched, or step deeper into danger with the hatchling at his side. A bead of sweat ran down his temple as he stared into the glowing depths. The shadow waited. The hatchling chirped, almost urging him on. Kale drew a deep breath, determination settling into his chest like fire. "We're going in," he said quietly, voice steady despite the fear. No turning back. The ground trembled again, louder this time, and the shadows shifted, coiling upward as if preparing for something unseen, inevitable, and enormous. Kale's boots thudded against the trembling alien platform, every vibration echoing through his chest. The shadows below stirred, massive forms gliding just out of reach, their movements deliberate, like hunters testing a prey. The hatchling clung to his shoulder, glowing brighter with every pulse, its wings flicking nervously. Kale's mind raced. Every instinct told him to retreat, but curiosity, and survival, propelled him forward. Ahead, the alien machinery stretched across the platform, partially buried beneath molten rock and debris. Kale crouched, eyes scanning the glowing glyphs etched into the control panels. They shifted under his touch, responding to the hatchling's light. A thrill ran through him. Something ancient, something alive, was communicating through the symbols, and the dragon understood it. Kale's heart hammered. If he could just decipher even a fraction, it might reveal the key to the planet's survival, or doom. A sudden tremor shook the platform. Dust and sparks rained down, and from the chasm's depths, a new movement stirred. This time, it wasn't the shadowy predator from before. No, this one was different, sleek, serpentine, almost graceful, but its eyes burned molten gold, locked onto the hatchling. The albino dragon hissed, wings flaring defensively. Kale instinctively raised his arm, shielding the creature. "I've got you," he said, voice low, firm, steady. The creature lunged from the shadows with shocking speed. Kale reacted instantly, yanking the hatchling behind a collapsed console. Sparks flew as the alien predator collided with metal, screeching, claws scraping rock. Kale's chest heaved. The platform groaned beneath the weight of danger and his own adrenaline. But in that moment he noticed something strange. The way the hatchling glowed, the way the symbols pulsed in response. The energy wasn't just defensive, it was active, interactive. The planet itself was alive and the hatchling could manipulate it. Realization struck Kale like lightning. "You're not just a survivor," he whispered, awe creeping into his voice. "You're part of this world." The hatchling chirped, leaning against him as if confirming his thought. Every fiber of Kale's being surged with determination. If this tiny creature held the power to influence a dying planet, he had to understand it, and fast. He scrambled across the platform toward a set of alien glyphs that seemed more intricate than the rest. The symbols twisted in patterns he could barely comprehend, but instinct guided his fingers. Each touch sent ripples of light across the panels. The ground trembled more violently now, and the shadows below hissed, retreating into the depths, but their eyes never left him. Kale didn't flinch. He had survived worse. Then the breakthrough came. One of the panels shifted, revealing a hidden compartment beneath. Inside, Kale found a crystalline device humming with energy, clearly designed to interface with living beings. His pulse quickened. The hatchling shrieked softly, wings spreading, wings touching the device's surface. The energy pulsed through them both. Kale felt a jolt, almost as if he were standing at the heart of the planet itself. A new understanding clicked into place. This device could awaken dormant planetary systems, stabilize tectonics, even reverse the dying world's decay, but only with the hatchling's energy as a conduit. Kale's chest tightened. The risk was immense. One misstep, one overload, and everything could collapse. Yet staring at the tiny dragon, at the creature that had saved his life, he knew there was no turning back. He had to try. Before he could act, a new figure appeared from the shadows, a second hatchling. Unlike the albino one, this one radiated darkness, scales black as obsidian, eyes glowing crimson. Its presence sucked the light from the platform, and a low growl reverberated through Kale's chest. The dark hatchling circled, wings snapping in warning, its energy hostile, aggressive. The albino hissed in response, tail lashing, wings flashing like starlight. Kale's mind raced. This dark creature, was it a predator? A guardian? Or something far more dangerous? He had no time to think. The chasm below groaned, cracks snaking across the platform, and molten streams of rock began to surge upward. The dark hatchling shrieked, diving toward them. Kale lunged, rolling the albino hatchling to safety, narrowly avoiding a strike that would have shredded them both. Sparks flew. Metal bent. He pressed a hand to the crystalline device, desperate, searching for a solution. Instinct guided him. Placing the albino hatchling's claws against the crystal, he felt energy surge outward in a white flash. Light radiated across the platform, illuminating the shadows below. The dark hatchling recoiled, screeching, pushed back by the energy. Kale's eyes widened. This wasn't just defense. The albino's energy could counteract the darkness, manipulate the forces below, and perhaps even stabilize the planet itself. The revelation hit hard. Survival here wasn't about brute force. It was about partnership, courage, intelligence, and empathy. He had to trust this fragile, glowing creature, even as the world trembled beneath them. Kale's ribs burned, sweat poured down his face, but his hands never wavered. He adjusted, pressed further into the glyphs, amplifying the albino's energy through the device. Sparks and symbols danced, a miniature storm of light and power. And then, a shadow loomed larger, emerging from the chasm, not retreating but rising, massive and deliberate. Its form coiled upward like a dark tower, eyes molten, limbs jagged. The dark hatchling screeched in fear for the first time, wings beating frantically, the albino glowing brighter to meet the threat. Kale's pulse raced. This was no longer survival. This was a test of everything he had learned, everything he could do under impossible pressure. He took a deep breath, chest tight, and pressed the albino hatchling's energy into the crystal fully. Light surged, illuminating the shadows, pushing back the darkness. But the massive shape below did not retreat entirely. It hovered, watching, intelligent and patient, hinting at far greater danger still hidden in the depths. Kale swallowed hard, his jaw set, eyes never leaving the chasm. The world beneath them was alive, hostile, and mysterious, but now he had a weapon, an ally, and a purpose. Whatever came next, he would not falter. He would confront it, and maybe, just maybe, he could save this dying planet. Micro cliffhanger. The dark hatchling screech echoed through the glowing depths as the massive shadow shifted again, revealing a jagged, alien silhouette that dwarfed the platform. Kale's hand tightened on the albino hatchling's glowing back. Something older and far more dangerous had just awakened, and there was no turning back. Kale's lungs burned as the platform trembled violently beneath him. The massive shadow from the chasm now loomed over them, jagged limbs cutting through the smoke like black lightning. Its molten eyes locked on the albino hatchling, and Kale felt the air thicken, charged with energy so heavy it pressed against his chest. He swallowed hard, gripping the hatchling closer, wings beating against his armor. Every instinct screamed danger. The dark hatchling screeched in panic, circling Kale, wings flaring. Its black scales absorbed the dim light, radiating hostility. The albino hissed back, energy pulsing like a living beacon, wings glowing fiercely. Kale realized immediately, their survival didn't depend on brute force. It depended on his courage, quick thinking, and partnership with this tiny creature. "Listen to me," Kale shouted over the roar of collapsing metal. "We control it, together." He pressed the albino hatchling onto the crystalline device, its claws sinking lightly into the surface. Sparks erupted as energy surged outward. Symbols on the alien panels flared, pulsing in time with the hatchling's glow. The platform trembled, teetering on the edge of collapse. One wrong move and everything would fall into the molten chasm below. From the depths, the massive shadow lunged, jagged limbs slicing toward them with terrifying speed. Kale rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding impact, debris splintering around him. The hatchling screeched, emitting a blinding wave of light that deflected the attack. Sparks flew. Metal groaned. The sheer force of the collision rattled Kale's teeth, but he pressed forward, adjusting his grip, pushing energy through the crystal as the platform quaked violently. The dark hatchling launched itself at him, claws extended. Kale twisted, guiding it away, while the albino released a surge of energy, striking the shadow below. A pulse of white light blasted upward, striking the massive form, forcing it back into the chasm. The air was thick with smoke, dust, and ozone, and Kale's chest burned from exertion. But a grim smile tugged at his lips. He had bought them time. Every second counted, every small victory mattered. He scanned the alien panels, symbols shifting and forming new patterns. Kale's mind worked frantically, piecing together sequences, anticipating reactions. Each adjustment amplified the albino's energy, creating a protective shield around the platform. Sparks arced across the floor, but Kale didn't flinch. Fear had no place here, only action, only resolve. The hatchling chirped, wings flicking rapidly, sensing the increasing instability. A tremor shook the platform hard enough to knock Kale to his knees. Cracks ran through the metal beneath him, molten streams hissing from below. The massive shadow stirred again, surging upward like a tidal wave of darkness. Kale's heart pounded. He grabbed the hatchling, pressing it fully onto the crystal. Energy flared in a dazzling, blinding burst, radiating outward and illuminating the chasm's depths. The albino's glow intensified and the shadows recoiled. Kale felt the platform tilt dangerously. Sparks shot from the edges, but he held fast, leveraging his body weight to stabilize both himself and the hatchling. The dark hatchling hissed, wings beating frantically, clearly exhausted by the energy exchange. Kale whispered, "Stay with me. We can do this." His voice was raw, urgent but steady. In that moment he realized survival wasn't about running, it was about taking impossible action, risking everything and trusting in courage and intelligence. The massive shadow surged again, limbs lashing, eyes molten. Kale adjusted the panels, sending waves of energy from the crystal, striking it precisely. The light from the albino hatchling collided with the shadow's dark energy, and for a heartbeat the world froze. Sparks, smoke, and debris danced in chaotic harmony, the platform trembling under the immense forces at play. Kale gritted his teeth, focusing every ounce of strength, every strategy, every instinct into this one moment. Then came the micro payoff. The shadow faltered, jerking violently, and a deep, resonant roar filled the air. The albino hatchling pulsed brighter, energy flowing into the chasm, and the dark hatchling surprisingly shrank back, wings folding in fear. Kale felt a surge of hope. This fragile, glowing creature could influence forces far beyond its size, its courage amplified by his own resolve. The world beneath them responded, symbols pulsing like a heartbeat, stabilizing small sections of the platform. But the danger wasn't over. The chasm shifted again, molten streams bubbling, cracks spreading. The massive shadow recoiled for a moment, then lunged upward one last time, faster, more furious. Kale's heart raced. He held the hatchling firmly against the crystal, directing every ounce of energy at the shadow. Light and darkness collided, a storm of power that made the platform groan under its weight. Sparks flew. Metal bent. Dust and debris choked the air. And then, the world responded. The symbols flared, brighter than ever. The shadow shrieked, limbs lashing, but it could not sustain the albino's energy. It recoiled, retreating into the chasm, dissolving into the glowing depths. The platform shuddered, the metal bending, but it held, and Kale sank to one knee, chest heaving, ribs screaming, yet alive. The albino hatchling perched on his shoulder, wings flicking weakly, glowing faintly as it calmed. Kale placed a hand gently on its back. "Good job," he whispered, voice rough but steady. "We survived, together." Relief surged, momentary but intense. Kale's eyes swept the platform, the glowing symbols, the chasm below. The world was still alive, still dangerous, but he had survived the impossible using courage, intelligence, and empathy. Every action had mattered. Every choice had consequence. He had shown where odds were hopeless. Yet even in victory, a shadow lingered. From the depths, molten eyes flickered faintly, watching. The dark hatchling hesitated at the edge of the platform, glancing down, wings flaring nervously. Something else stirred below, massive and deliberate, far older than anything Kale had faced. The world had given them a reprieve, but it had not surrendered its secrets. Kale's chest heaved. Sweat, soot, and blood streaked his face, but his gaze was steady. He glanced at the albino hatchling, who chirped softly, leaning close. "This isn't the end," he whispered. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." His voice carried quiet determination, the same courage that had carried him through impossible odds now burning brighter than ever. Micro cliffhanger, the platform shuddered violently, dust and sparks flying. Deep in the glowing chasm, a new jagged shape emerged, larger, older and watching. The albino hatchling stiffened, wings flaring, and Kale felt a chill run down his spine. Something far greater than the shadows they had faced was awakening, and it was only a matter of time before it struck. Kale sank to the edge of the trembling platform, chest heaving, sweat and soot streaking his face. The albino hatchling clung to his shoulder, glowing faintly now, wings drooping from exhaustion. The chasm below was quiet, or as quiet as a living, dying world could be. The massive shadows had retreated, at least for now, and the alien machinery hummed softly, responding to the energy still coursing through it. Kale's fingers brushed over the crystalline device. He had no idea how much longer the platform could hold, but for the first time since the crash, he felt a spark of hope. They had survived the impossible. Against collapsing ruins, unknown predators and forces far larger than themselves, he and this tiny dragon had endured. And yet the planet was not fully healed. Every ripple of energy, every flicker of glyphs, reminded him that the world was fragile, precarious, but alive. The albino hatchling chirped softly, nudging him. Kale smiled faintly, tired but steady. "We did it," he whispered. "We saved part of it." Relief coursed through him, sharp and vivid. He had lost his ship, his comrades, his place in the galaxy, but he had gained something that no rank, no medal, no victory could replace: purpose. The bond with this creature, this living spark of the world, had changed everything. Kale began examining the glyphs again, tracing lines, pressing levers, activating dormant circuits. Slowly, carefully, the alien mechanisms began to hum with a harmonious rhythm. Light pulsed along the chasm walls, stabilizing cracks and fissures. Molten rock below receded, cooling in bands of vibrant orange and gold. The world, once on the brink of death, was waking, responding to the bond between human and dragon. Kale's mind raced. Every choice, every action he had taken, calculated, courageous and compassionate, had brought this moment. Humanity had shone where nothing else could. The dark hatchling lingered near the edge of the platform, wings folded, eyes glowing faintly. Kale's heart tightened. He understood now. It was not evil, it was part of the planet's balance, drawn to the albino's energy and curious about the human who dared to guide it. Slowly, cautiously, the dark hatchling approached, wings twitching, testing the stability of their alliance. Kale extended a hand. The creature paused, eyes watching, then leaned forward slightly. A fragile truce formed, born of survival and trust. Kale looked down into the chasm one last time. Alien glyphs glowed brighter, moving in waves like a heartbeat. Small fissures sealed, energy flowed, and the planet's life force pulsed steady for the first time in centuries. His chest tightened with awe. He had come here broken, bankrupt, and alone, but now he had done something no army, no weapon could achieve. He had saved a world. And in doing so, he had proven the core of humanity: courage, intelligence, empathy, and determination against impossible odds. The albino hatchling chirped again, climbing onto his shoulder. Kale smiled, fingers brushing its soft scales. "We make a good team," he murmured. For the first time he allowed himself a small laugh, raw and joyful. The chaos, the destruction, the fear, it had all brought him here, to this bond, to this victory. Every choice had mattered. Every action had consequence. He had become more than a survivor. He had become a savior. A sudden vibration rippled through the platform. Kale froze, heart racing. Below, deep in the glowing depths of the chasm, a movement stirred, larger, deliberate, older than anything he had faced. The molten eyes of a massive, jagged silhouette blinked once, slow and calculating, and then vanished from view. The albino hatchling stiffened, wings flaring slightly. Kale's breath caught. Whatever lay beneath, it had been watching. And now it knew they were here. Kale rose slowly, chest tight with anticipation, and brushed debris from his armor. "We're not done," he whispered to the hatchling. "Not even close." He glanced at the horizon. This world had survived, but the galaxy was vast and far greater forces were waiting. He understood the truth now: survival wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. And humans, even in the darkest corners of the cosmos, could shine brighter than anyone expected. The dark hatchling chirped softly, leaning against the albino. Kale watched the two creatures side by side, light and dark, balancing forces of the world he had saved. The realization struck him. He had not only saved a planet, he had begun a legacy. Every action, every sacrifice had mattered. The world owed its life to a human who refused to give up. Kale stepped to the edge of the platform, chest heaving, eyes scanning the horizon. Fires in the distance flickered, ruins slowly stabilizing. He took a deep breath, letting it fill his lungs. The planet was alive. The albino hatchling chirped, tail flicking, wings shimmering faintly. Kale smiled, placing a hand over its glowing back. "We'll face whatever comes next," he said. "Together." From deep within the chasm, a faint vibration pulsed, subtle but deliberate. The glowing symbols shifted once more, forming intricate patterns that hinted at intelligence beyond comprehension. Kale's eyes narrowed. He understood the warning. The world had secrets still undiscovered, power still untapped. And beyond the planet, in the cold darkness of space, something else had noticed. Something waiting. Something far larger than any shadow or hatchling they had faced. Kale exhaled slowly, shoulders tightening with resolve. He had lost much, yet gained more than he could have imagined. The albino hatchling chirped, wings flicking as if acknowledging their next step. He looked into the glowing abyss below, understanding the truth: survival was only the start. Humanity's courage, intelligence, and compassion would be tested again, in ways no one could yet imagine. He placed the hatchling gently back on the platform, letting it stretch wings against the soft glow of the alien glyphs. "Rest now," he murmured. "We have work ahead." His voice carried quiet determination, calm but commanding. The world was alive, the immediate danger past, but the galaxy still waited with challenges and mysteries beyond comprehension. And somewhere, deep in the darkness of space, massive eyes blinked. Kale didn't know who or what it was. But he knew one thing for certain. He would face it as a human with courage, intelligence, and an unbreakable will. Next video tease. The chasm below pulsed faintly once, twice, like a heartbeat, and a shadow larger than anything Kale had ever seen shifted beneath the glow. A whisper of motion hinted at an intelligence far older than the planet itself. The albino hatchling stiffened, wings flaring. Kale's jaw set. Whatever was coming next, it would test humanity, and him, like never before.